Oh, welcome back there, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to go ahead and learn a little bit about reverse engineering, and we're going to practice by measuring this lollipop. We've got a Dum Dum lollipop, and you can see I've made a model. This model isn't quite right, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at an actual lollipop, which you can see right here. And we're going to do a little measuring, sketching, and then model this lollipop. Now, this is a great practice activity because it helps us learn all sorts of things. If you measure several of these, you get to learn about you get to experience tolerance and variance. So you find out that if you measure all of the lollipops in a bag, these things are great. They come in big old bags. I got 200 here pops that show up, and I can go in and measure all those 200 lollipops if I want, and find out how different each of them is. You get the length of the sticks, diameters, and all those other things. You'll find that they're not exactly the same, even though they all pop out of the same mold, come from the same factory. You will also find out that if you are interested in eating this lollipop when they're done, you need to do some special handling characteristics to keep it clean and sanitary. So, for example, you can see I have mine opened up, and it is on this left it on the wrapper with the inside of the wrapper up, and goes the outside out. And I'm going to try to handle the lollipop. I'm going to handle it just by the stick. This is a great practice because, you know, if you're working in, say, the medical industry or chemical industry, or a lot of different manufacturings, or you know, dealing with some unique artifacts, you have to learn how to be careful and practical and not to contaminate your work. So here we have this lollipop, and I've gone ahead and started by creating a sketch of a bunch of different components of the lollipop. I've sketched it in two views. I've sketched an isometric view of it, and I've sketched a view of the wrapper. And we use their dial calipers to measure the sizes of the components. Now for the wrapper, I just round it off to the nearest half inch, because I don't think that's super precise or important. But the thickness of the wrapper we did find is 1/1000th of an inch, and that's going to come in significant here. We'll go ahead and do our measurements. Now I've dimensioned this using datum dimensioning, so all of the measurements in this front view are taken from the base of the stick, and that's actually pretty hard to do. And I was not able to get a very important measurement. I was not able to get the measurement for the length of the stick, which means we don't know how deep the stick goes into the actual candy. In order to get that, we're most likely going to have to destructively test this, which means we have to find some way to get that lollipop candy off of the stick. Well, hopefully you smart people out there can figure out a good way to do that. I'm kind of stumped. But at some point you'll want to take that measurement. Also, of course, if we don't want to contaminate the lollipop, we can take measurements using the caliper and the paper. So like I said, the wrapping paper can be used. Try to get it as smooth and flat as possible. We know the size of the paper. So if I want to get the diameter, for example, I come in here and take a couple of different diameter measurements of the outer diameter, and then get whatever measurement we take and subtract the thickness of the paper from it. Now, if you're going like this on both sides, you're measuring here and here, so that means you're passing through the paper twice. Well, that means whatever measurement I get, I'm going to subtract twice the thickness. So if I get 3.210 inches across, which I wouldn't, I'd get measured all the way across, I got 810 thousandths. I would subtract twice the thickness, so that would be 808 thousandths would be the diameter if I measured it through the paper. Also, when it comes time to measuring things like the difference between the diameters here. So I've got this outer diameter. That's easy to get by putting the caliper on the outside of the lollipop. But to get that next diameter, well, that's tricky because it's really hard to get a good measurement on there. And you can do that, but actually what I found was using the step measuring faces, and I can plunge down, and I'm going to go ahead and contaminate my lollipop because I'm not super concerned about it. But you can take the paper and put it there to get this measurement. But for the purpose of, and you can do that by feel, but for the purpose of showing you what I'm talking about, is I'm going to get this measurement of the depth of that step by putting the head of the caliper in that corner and then closing it down until it stops on the edge. So we wind up with that nice, there's the gap right there. That's the height of the step of that ring. Now I can get that measurement. Now the cool thing is, if we use the paper to do the same thing, you'll see that it doesn't, that measurement doesn't change, because all the paper does is moves the measuring surface to the right. It doesn't really, I'm not measuring the paper, I'm just measuring the change. So go ahead, take your time and measure out your stuff and do a great job with that. Have fun. I'm going to keep this here, and let's go back to CAD. So we're going to go ahead and try to make this, and from our sketch. So we're going to start a new part studio. And we're going to create a sketch on the front plane. And we're going to go ahead and draw some stuff. So looks like this is pretty much a circle. So we're going to use the circle tool, starting from the origin. And we'll do the main body of the lollipop. The main body of the lollipop is actually this middle ring. It's not, so there's the stick, there's the main body of the candy, and then there's the ring that goes around the outside of the candy. So the measurement we're looking for right now is actually the 0.750 measurement. So that's the measurement we're going to create for our main body of the candy. And then we're going to have a stick, which is going to be of some size. We'll sketch that first. Make sure I draw a vertical line. So that you can see when I hover over, I got the vertical constraint, and I hover over this, I got the horizontal constraint, and that is locked to the aligned with the center axis, and that is coincident with the edge. We have this touching here, vertical, horizontal, and that lined up with the center point, origin. And let's go ahead and add another line. Let's come up and form the center. Escape that line, and we're going to trim this extra material away. I'll take the cut line here and take it away. Now, you might be wondering why in the world did I draw half a circle, draw a whole circle, then cut half of it away. Well, to get the lollipop the way we're going to want it and need it, we're going to need to revolve this thing. So I'm just drawing the profile of a section of the lollipop. And I don't yet know how deep this is, so we're going to leave that alone. But I do know how wide the diameter of the stick is. So if we go back to our sketch, you see that we measured the diameter of the stick to be 0.120 inches, to 120 thousandths. So let's go on back here. So this is going to be the hole for the stick, and we're going to revolve this around. And 120 thousandths is going to be the distance all the way across. 0.120 inches. Right? But we're going to, that's all the way across, and this is only halfway across. So we're going to divide that by 2 to get the radius. And I'm going to escape the dimension so I can pull this out of the way so you can see it. You can see that 0.06 is the width from here to here. And we'll multiply that times 2, that's 120. That's going to be the the diameter of the stick. Now, if I come in here, and you can see that this line is still blue, which means it can move around. We don't know how deep that is. We're not going to be able to know that until we destructively test that lollipop. So we've got to break it open somehow. Again, I hope you guys out there can figure out some way to get that lollipop off the stick. I don't know. I'm kind of stumped. Next thing we're going to look at is that lollipop has a ring around it. That ring. So how are we going to figure that out? Well, we're going to go ahead and sketch it. First, we'll sketch it freehand on here. Use the line tool and just draw and draw. Now close that and escape line. And we can go ahead and trim away the line material in between. What do we know about from our drawing? Let's go back to our drawing and figure that out. We know that the outer diameter is 810 thousandths. So let's go ahead and measure that. So dimension, measuring from the origin over to the vertical line. And we said that was 810 thousandths. But again, that's the diameter. That was the measurement all the way across, and we're looking halfway, so we'll divide that by 2. And that looks pretty good. But we don't know the heights yet. Well, let's see. Let's go back to our lollipop. We took the measurement from the bottom up. We only have the head right now. We can look here and see the difference between these two, 218 or 818 and 972, or we can just go ahead and measure that thickness. Take it again another way. So I can either subtract those from each other, or just remeasure it, and I'm going to go ahead and remeasure it. I'm going to take 0.156. 0.156. We'll give that for the height right here. Oops, let's do your filter screwed up. Let's try it again. Put that line. Put that height of that vertical line. There we go. That was close. 0.156. There it is. Well, it barely changed at all. And you know what? I bet you that we want this to line up with that midpoint. So I'm going to add a point around the middle of this line. And then I'm going to use my horizontal constraint tool, which for you, let's stretch that down real quick. Pause for a moment. For you, when you do this, you will probably have to use, yours probably won't be wide like that. You'll probably have this drop down menu. So you drop that down. I'm going to take horizontal constraint. I'm going to get the origin to line up with the midpoint. And now you can see everything's turned black except for the depth of that stick, which, again, we don't know that. We're going to have to find some way to do that. Get that candy off there. Jeez, again, I hope you can figure that out. I'm stumped. So let's get a sketch here. Let's get the sketch called Candy. Finish that sketch. And then we're going to use the Revolve tool right up here in the top left corner. And it's going to ask us for the Revolve feature. So faces and sketch region removed. So to revolve. And there it is. Revolve Axis. So click on that button. Turn red. And we're going to take the center line of the object. That's going to revolve it. Look at that. There we go. And let's give it a name. Let's call it Candy. Let's give it a color and rename it. And give it a color, add appearance. And my lollipop is yellow, so let's go with this nice yellow color. And let's go ahead and add a stick. So that's pretty easy. We're just going to hit the extrude feature button, and we're going to grab the bottom of the hole. And we want this to be a new part because it's not part of the candy. It's the stick. That's a new part, and let's extrude that. We have a total distance of a total distance to go of 3.2. We have a partial distance of 2.525. Let's see, the main part of the candy is 3/4. So let's take half of 3/4, which would be 3/8, so 0.3875. Oh, sorry, 3750. 3750 would be the half of this. It's going to add 0.375, which is half of this, to here to get the length of that stick. So we'll go 0.375 plus that candy again, 5.25. Oops, 2.525. And I'm going to call that the stick. And sure enough, there's your lollipop. And in your part studio 2 Dum Dum. Congratulations, you just reverse engineered and modeled a Dum Dum lollipop. So if you want to get the exact length of that stick, you're going to have to figure something out. I just guessed. You'll probably want to go back and, well, try to find it. Good luck. Have fun. As always, keep being awesome.